In a recent interview, the CEO of Tantalus, the studio responsible for remastering Twilight Princess HD, announced they've been working closely with Nintendo on a number of Switch games for a long time. He also encouraged Nintendo fans to share the Nintendo games they would like to see them remaster on their Facebook. It is no promise they will do so, but if certain games are suggested a lot, they may talk to Nintendo about those games. Nintendo may say no. One popular suggestion, Melee HD, is likely one Nintendo would say no to. If Nintendo was going to do something with Melee, I would expect they themselves would directly port it to the Switch, ensure it outputs in 1080p, and can take advantage of the Switch's multiplayer capabilities. Doing anything more would piss off the cancerous corner of the Melee fanbase, and would probably make the remake an inferior version of Smash Bros. 4. That, or Nintendo might put a toggle into the Smash Bros. 4 remake that makes it play more like Melee, and be done appeasing the Melee faction of the Smash Bros. Fanbase. Of course, I think few Nintendo fans would object to every first and second party N64 and GameCube game getting an HD remaster, plus a lot of Wii games and some DS and 3DS games. But we all have our favorites. To get fans' minds rolling, I thought I'd list the 10 games I most want to see remastered. On paper, this is one of the most ideal games to put on the Switch. People come together having their own system and screen and they play multiplayer Zelda. On the other hand, these same points were true for the 3DS, and the game was even free. But nobody had any interest at all. Forget this one. They should just do Melee HD. There are at least some people who care about Melee. This was a game that never really got a shot to be a hit. Nintendo completely botched the marketing, making it appear more like Animal Crossing in the minimal marketing campaign. Better resolution and more name recognition could be just what this game needs to get the fame it deserves. Who knows, Nintendo might even realize Chibi-Robo could be something if it is marketed decently and plays like Chibi-Robo. This is almost too obvious following Twilight Princess, but it makes a bit more sense considering Skyward Sword came out just before the Wii U, missing the boat to 1080p and an acceptable amount of RAM and processor speed. Porting Skyward Sword to the Switch rather than the Wii U makes even more sense considering both Joy-Cons have analog sticks and adequate buttons. The default controller, assuming the Joy-Con's motion controls are Motion Plus level, will be able to mirror the same precise controls, while also allowing precise, intuitive camera control. Something the Wii could never do. The same advantage comes to many other Wii games like Xenoblade and The Last Story as well. When I first bought Mario Party 3, I remember stopping and being stunned at how great the character models looked for the N64. I would honestly like to see how it looks in 1080p. Maybe Nintendo would stop trying to reinvent the Mario Party wheel. Maybe. Mario Party 3 is definitely one of the pinnacles of the franchise, though. This makes sense from a marketing perspective, considering the Switch seems to be aimed at Gen Yers who have lapsed from gaming. If I had as little time as some of my peers and saw the Switch thing that would make gaming a little easier to work into my schedule, and then I saw one of the huge games from my childhood, but remade with better textures and some additional content, I would seriously consider nostalgizing with it. Few Nintendo games are as iconic as Super Mario 64, and fewer still are for Gen Yers. I completely understand why this is one of the most popular suggestions, and I think it would do well. I'll also give a shout out to Mario Sunshine because of how much everybody loves the Splatoon controls. Custom Robo was one of those experimental games to push the popularity of the N64, and resulted in 2 games that never made it outside of Japan. Many in the West would like to try these games, and instead of just translating them, why not tweak the polygons a little, and upgrade the textures as well? The games could look great with something as simple as a cell shading filter going over it. This was a game that made it to Europe, but not the Americas, despite being set in America. It followed a guy surviving natural disasters, saving civilians from the aftermath, and killing bad guys. As an early Wii game, it could do with a lot of graphical polish, redubbing and some minor changes to improve the gameplay, and it would let those of us who bought a Wii to play it, finally play it. In a perfect world, we would get the two main series Paper Mario games as a sort of compilation. If I had to choose one, it would be the original due to the fact it would see more improvement. Just upping the resolution would be incredible, but redoing the sprites and textures would result in a very beautiful game on par with the Thousand Year Door. Heck, they could update Paper Mario with mechanics from the sequel, such as removing the level cap, adding badges introduced in the Thousand Year Door, adding an audience and including counterattacks. If they did the Thousand Year Door, I'd really need them to rework areas to reduce backtracking to be remotely interested. I still think this is one of the best looking games, so putting it in HD and even upping the textures would be wonderful. I don't think I need to make a case for this. This game just speaks for itself, in that it would be great in high resolution. I'd go so far as to say these games were even more underrated than Chibi-Robo, and the backgrounds definitely deserve 1080p. Since my Wii can't read discs and I can't use Homebrew to play it from a hard drive, this is easily my top pick, and I really feel like it would excel on a hybrid platform. But they would really have to do both. The game's kind of a repair. So what do you want Tantalus to make? I'm really curious to hear more ideas. But definitely be sure to tell Tantalus what you want, and make sure your friends know they can suggest games too. They may just see demand and remaster some of our requests.